I hereby wish to take you through a brief resume of Mavis Mazhura. She's an international human behavioral specialist with extensive experience in emotional intelligence and training, fatigue management and training, critical conversations, creative innovation, have a nice conflict critical thinking, change management and leadership development training, among other human factor programs. She has trained across the continent in South Africa here, Namibia, Botswana, Uganda and Zimbabwe, across board from lower level employees to board level. A John Maxwell certified leadership coach, teacher and speaker, an athlete, member of the Institute of Coaching Professional Association at McLean Hospital, a Harvard Medical School affiliate. Ladies and gentlemen, I hereby wish to present on behalf of SAPA Gauteng, Mavis Mazhura, who is going to present to you emotional intelligence. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. To the President of SAPA, Dayacheti, Program Director, and to the leaders in the room, thank you for giving me the opportunity. I really feel honored to be part of this leadership experience. My background, he said a lot of things, but never mind about it. I always say it is pieces of papers that we have acquired, but whether that means something, that's something else we have to discover. I realized what took me on this journey that I'm on, I realized after having my certificates, after having my master's, I realized that I was actually not learned anymore. I didn't know anything, I didn't have any skills to help me through life. I had acquired multiple pieces of certificates that were not helping me. So that's how I actually got to be on the journey that I am. I realized that something was missing. And I realized that the thing that was missing was actually my emotional intelligence. Nobody had ever educated me around emotions, how to manage my emotions. What was it about? The first I ever heard as I was growing up was speak with your head, not with your heart. Do you teach that as well? Right? Speak with your head, not with your heart. Do you teach it? What does it mean? Okay. The other one I also have been taught is don't be emotional about it. What does that mean? Who is not emotional? Don't cry. Okay? So when we say don't be emotional, we mean don't cry. So those are the two lessons I heard about emotions. But they were not enough. They were not helping me. So I went on a journey, and the journey that I'm on in now is about talking about emotional intelligence, teaching emotional intelligence. And I always say, yes, Mr. Malinga has given you the certificates and all those things. But refer to me as a student of emotions. That's what I am. Because emotions teach me on a daily basis, whether I like it or not. Whether I'm paying attention or not, emotions are teaching me on a daily basis. So that is what I am. I'm a lifetime student of emotions, and I want to talk about emotional literacy. We've just gone on, just before we just talked about why emotional intelligence is important, but how do we move? What is the process? How do we move from where we are to where we want to go? When we talk about developing your emotional intelligence, what are the things that we need to do to get there? I think my first slide was talking about teaching with emotional intelligence. How do we do that? I think you will agree with me that there's a point in time that the education system focused on developing the emotional capacities or emotional skills in the learning environment. So they were doing the emotional development, enhancement, and adjustment in the school system. Then we changed. We started focusing on cognitive abilities. So we now focus on the numbers. We focus on the grades. But we are realizing there's a pendulum swing. Do you agree with me? We are realizing that the numbers are not working. The chaos we have in society today, the social decay, and all the violence we're having in schools today, it's not that the grades are not there. It's not the cognitive ability. Something is missing. Do you agree with me? So we are realizing, we are recognizing again that emotions are important in the school system. So we need to go back and start educating ourselves and even the children around emotional intelligence and their skills. Now, if there was a phase where emotional intelligence or emotional abilities were not taught, so it means there's a group of people that are affected, isn't it? I'm one of them. Until I left school, school, I never knew what emotions, what is it about. So I really have to go back and start learning. That's why I said I'm a student of emotions. They teach me every day. I have to go back and start learning. Are you also affected? Okay. So what does that mean? We have to go back and start learning about emotions, understanding emotions. What are they? Understanding emotional literacy. We don't even know how to communicate how we feel. How many times do you say to your colleague or to the next person, I'm angry? Right? Do you say that? I am angry. What does that mean? It means you're angry. We have names, isn't it? My name is Mavis. I'm not angry. I do feel angry sometimes. As human, it shows that I'm alive. But when we use permanent words to describe a situation that is temporary, what do you think that does there? What does it do? It brings you down. It increases the energy level of the emotion. It's just an emotion. But when you don't have enough literacy to actually address this emotion, to name it, it disarms you. When you say I'm angry, you're going to behave in a way that when you think back, you say, did I just do that? Did I say that? Or it was somebody else? Because the emotion has taken over. Okay. So what are emotions? What are those things called emotions? What are they? Feelings. Right? Where are they? Where do you find them? Sorry, I'm controversial. I don't want to talk on my own. Right? Inside. Inside where? Okay. So there are some we experience them in our body. The one thing that doesn't happen in the school system or in your school, the one thing when your school children come, when the children come to school, they put their bags in their lockers. But there's one thing that they can't put in their lockers. But even though sometimes the way we teach is in a way that says, please go and put your emotions in the locker and come back, then we can learn. Then after we finish learning, you can take your emotional handbag or your emotional bag and go back. It doesn't happen. The video clip we saw earlier on said, kids don't learn from someone that they don't like. What is that about? What is liking about? Emotions. Okay? So emotions are, we are just not rational. Although we focus on developing the cognitive abilities, we are just not rational. We all have emotions. We all have emotions. Emotions are neurohormones. They are long-chain amino acids produced primarily in the hippocampus. So I'm looking at the science of emotions. Where do they come from? They are electrochemical signals that are released from the brain to affect every living cell in your body. And according to a research that has been done by 6 seconds, that process of releasing that electrochemical signal takes about 6 seconds. And each emotion has got a maximum lifespan of about 120 seconds. But how many times have you felt something over 2 minutes? You felt it for days, for months, and for years even. Emotions influence us on a daily basis. They influence what you do or what you don't do. Your actions and inactions on a daily basis are influenced by what you feel. Do you agree with me? If you don't feel it, you're just not going to do it. But if you feel it, even if you don't know, you don't have the information, you will look for the information and you'll do it. So emotions are that cost. So we need to learn about emotions. We also need to teach about emotions in the school system. I like the Latin word imovia. It's the same word for emotion as you know we got most of our English words from the Latin. Imovia means move through and out. So emotions are literally supposed to what? Move through and out. But how many of us house them? You give them permanent residence. Or they've literally the emotions of the people that we educate, also understand even the emotions of the teachers that teach in the school system. I was at a conference 2 weeks ago, and one speaker there said, you go through the school system, you meet two kinds of teachers. The one that has been called, and the one that is a teacher because they could not become anything else. And what you will realize is that the approach to teaching for those two kinds of teachers is different. The one that didn't have anything to do but to teach, they will label you, they will name call you, they will break you. We spoke about hope earlier on. We need to give hope. We need to be places where kids or children can come and get hope. But if you have not been called to teach, I don't know if you can give hope. Okay, so what are emotions? They are poofy. I like that word. What does that mean? They are primal. They are evolutionary. We are all born with emotions. Okay? When we are born, the first few seconds we're expected to make some kind of noise. Yeah? If you don't, you get your first spank, isn't it? And you get your first corporal punishment. Okay? So why do kids have to cry when they're born? What is that about? To check they are alive. But what is the truth? What are we using to check if they are alive? We are checking if they feel. So feelings equals to life. If you don't feel, you're gone. Right? Have you ever been involved in a car accident? What do you do first? You pinch yourself, isn't it? You're checking if you are alive. So emotions for me equals to life. So they're primal, they're evolutionary. It is the first communication tool that we have as we're born. And we continually need to depend on that communication tool that we use. They are universal. We all have emotions. They are universal. We all have them. They are functional. They are there for a reason. So we need to understand the underlying reason behind an emotion. Why am I feeling what I'm feeling? What is the motivating issue? What do I need to address? So there are feedback loops, there are messages, and we need to pay attention to the messages. They are infectious. They are infectious. What does that mean? We can pass them on. 60 to 70% of a work team's temperament is influenced by the leader's emotional input, not what you know. Your skill climate, if your teachers are teaching or not teaching, if they are feeling motivated or demotivated, it is not because you're not knowledgeable. It is not because you don't have the masters or I don't know whatever you have, but it is because you're not connecting with them. Your emotional input on a daily basis, do you check it? What do you input on an emotional level on a daily basis? School climate, your teachers, when they get into the classroom, learning is an emotional process, right? So when they get into the classroom, do they check their emotional input? What is the emotional climate of the class as a result of my being here in this class today? Do we check it? Or we leave it to fate? We just carry in and go and whatever happens. And when the kids don't learn, what do we say? Eh? We call them names. But we are not acknowledging our input at an emotional level. We are not acknowledging our input at an emotional level. So we need to enhance emotional literacy. But what is emotional literacy? It is your ability to identify an emotion using feeling words and expressing it. Are you able to identify how you feel? Name it that. And then express it as such. And I said both of us have skipped a stage. So we don't even know how we feel most of the time. We must rethink. We must go back and learn. What does it mean? What am I feeling? Let me do this quick exercise with you. We are adding numbers. Let's check if there's emotions in maths. Right? Let's check if there's emotions in maths. I need to hear over 200 voices. We are adding numbers. What are we doing? Okay. So if I put a 10 there, we shout 10. If I put another 10, what does it become? Yes. Okay. Let's go. So we start. Can we say that again? Thank you. What is it? Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Are you school principals? Then we are worrying why there is 30% pass rate. Is this so? I'm joking. I take it back. What is the answer there? 4,100. Thank you, Marlene. What is the correct answer? 4,100. Where did you get 5,000? Huh? Huh? Okay, so say I must start again. Okay, there we are. Let's start. 1,000, okay? Uh-huh. Okay. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. I've been given 30 minutes. Let's move on. Let's move on. What does that exercise show? Is there emotions in maths? Yeah, there are emotions in maths. Okay, all right. So if we are to teach maths, we've got to teach emotions as well, isn't it? If we are to get it right, we also have to teach the emotions. That exercise shows you the need for self-awareness, self-control in our thinking, communication, and behavior. We pass on patterns that do not exist. We pass on beliefs that are not functional anymore. And it's not helping us. So we need to have that self-awareness. What does that mean? Self-awareness for the student, but also self-awareness for the what? For the teacher. So we need to improve, we need to enhance that self-awareness. Why emotional literacy? Stories cannot be properly appreciated unless characters' feelings are well understood. This is what Dr. Sue says. Do you agree with me? Yeah. If a story does not have the emotions in there, it's not a story. There's no connection. You can't connect with it. Okay? So can emotions be taught? Isn't it just inborn? Can we teach emotions? We are born with a brain. Why do we go to school? Why do we go to school? What are we doing in the school system? We're learning. Okay, so as we need to teach emotions. The reason is we have realized and recognized that there is power in emotions. They influence everything that we do, including learning. So emotions actually influence learning. There's value in naming emotions. What is the value in naming emotions? If you cannot name your emotions, then somebody is victimizing you. They have power over you. There is psychological power. If you can't understand, if you can't name yourself to say, I'm feeling this, whoever is a perpetrator has got power over you, psychological power over you. So when we talk about bullying, if the person being bullied cannot understand what they are feeling, the bully has got power over them, and they'll carry on. So we need the ability to name the emotion. The ability to identify and name the feelings is a form of power, and like all power, it can be used to hurt or to help. Okay? Some of the ways it shows, so if we are not emotional literate, then what are we? I said some of us are recovering. I'm one of the people that are recovering. And I think I may say I've heard what is called emotional alexithymia. What does that mean? I'm emotionally illiterate. I don't know how to use feeling words to communicate what I'm feeling, and some of the times I don't even know how to connect with what I'm feeling. Have you heard people overusing a word? I love cheese. Huh? You love what? Eh? It's chocolate. I love chocolate. You overuse the word to the extent that you can't connect with it. It means nothing anymore. Okay? So that is also emotional literacy. We need to get to a place where we can actually communicate what we feel, and we can feel it. Do you say what you're feeling and connect with that feeling? So sometimes we mask our real feelings. You say, I'm fine. How many times do you say, I'm fine, when you're not? That's a form of emotional literacy, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. What else do you say? Inconsistency. What you're saying, your verbal and your body language, they're going in separate directions. Overuse, I've just spoken about overuse now. You use one word, I hate. You don't understand. There's no connection anymore with that emotion. Exaggeration. There are drama queens and kings. There are people who can dramatize their emotions. I feel like I'm being run over by a truck. When you are standing right here, and where's the truck? Okay, so sometimes we need to watch out for that, and sometimes we minimize how we feel. You say, I'll be fine, but connect with what it is that is going on now so that you can resolve it. Why minimize it? It's important, it's message, it's information. You need to work with it. So you can only work with it if you're aware of what is going on. Indirect communication, I feel like an idiot. What do you feel? Hey? What is it that you feel? Talk about what you are really feeling. Non-verbal communication. So when I feel angry, you will see me throwing things. Oh, we saw earlier on somebody beating on the computer. Hey? They are unable to get in touch with the emotion to say, okay, now I'm feeling angry. And when you say I'm feeling angry, you've started managing the emotion because it has less power. But when you say I'm angry, you are energizing it. You could kill anybody. You could hit anybody. You could say something that you regret. Making predictions, and we do this all the time as parents. You're going to break your bones. Get off there. We start threatening, using threats so that they stop. And when we use threats, most of the time, they don't quite listen. Have you realized that? You will say it 10 times. When you say you break your bones, you're going to say it again. Because they are now being what? They are fighting. They feel like now you are telling them what to do. They feel like you are saying to them they don't know what they're doing. Yet in the meantime, it's just we are not communicating what we're feeling inside. So emotions are signals of opportunity or threat. So the basic messages, we need to understand them. The activators or deactivators. Is what you're feeling moving you forward? That's an opportunity. Or is it paralyzing you? Or is it making you behave in a way that you cannot build those relationships anymore? There's social chaos in society. And it's because we are not able to communicate how we feel. Do you agree with me? Yep. And we need to go back to where? Basics. We need to go back to basics. So we are of two brains, the limbic brain and the cortical brain. So when we get into the school system, we focus on developing the cortical side of the cognitive abilities. So we are developing the cortical brain, but we also have the limbic brain, which is the oldest. We are born with emotions, isn't it? It's the oldest. We forget to develop that. So we need to go back to a place where we actually develop the limbic brain. The limbic brain is the emotional brain, and it is the survival center. But it is also a primitive brain. Sometimes it gives you signals of danger where there are none. Okay? Somebody was saying you must check if your lady is there. Eh? You must check before you go and do whatever. It's the limbic brain. It can give you signals of danger where there are none. You need to manage it. So you need to manage your emotions. We need to manage our emotions. Okay, I'm going to skip that video clip and carry on because... Okay. Would you agree with me that here's the only time you don't need EI in the classroom? Yeah. Hey? Yeah. When the chairs are on top, then we don't need emotional intelligence. But as long as somebody is in the class, even yourself on your own, hey? You need some emotional intelligence. Okay. So emotions, we need to understand what they are. I said they activate or deactivate us. What does that mean? They're energy. Hey? Their energy, they can either move you forward or move you backwards. So we need to understand the energy levels. What is the energy level in your body? What is the energy level? How do you influence energy levels in your classroom? I said earlier on, we need to understand the classroom climate. What are you talking about when you talk about classroom climate? What is that? Energy. Eh? Energy. But how do we check the energy? It's the emotions, isn't it? What emotions are present and what kind of energy are they generating? So we need to understand that emotions are energy, and the energy can be pleasant or unpleasant. It can be moving you forward or paralyzing you. So we need to understand the impact or the power that emotions have. Okay. Before we get on to that one, let's do a quick exercise. You've got a pen. I saw you were given pens, eh? Please list for me 10 emotions. I'm giving you 2 minutes. I hope I don't have 2 minutes left. 10 emotions, please list them for me. 10 emotions, list them for me. If you're done, please stick your hand up. Let's see how emotional illiterate we are. 10 emotions. I'm asking for 10, not much. Who's thinking about them? you try to think about the emotions. Okay. Let's leave it there. If we were that literate, 10 words are not much, Okay, so if we have to think about them, then it means we have to learn about them more. We have to learn about them more, okay? So here's the emotional Plutchik map. I'm not going to go through that, but here are some of the emotions that we experience, okay? And the map shows the intensity. You move from a low energy emotion to a high energy emotion. And you can move from one neighbor to the next, okay? So I'm not going to go through that, but here is some of the tools or some of the resources you can use. You can get this emotional Plutchik and see what it means in terms of the emotions that could be present, that influence us, activate us, or deactivate us, okay? So here are some of the things that the emotions also influence us, our activities. So when you are in this space, this is the performance zone. So you want to make sure that your class climate is here, isn't it? Yeah. If you want them to learn, you want to make sure that the emotions are there. If they're anywhere else, chances are. Hey? What do you think is going on? So we need to make sure that they are in the performance zone. But most people are spending their time there. Survival zone. Where do you spend most of your time? Where do you spend most of your time in that? Performance. I'm excited. Really? Okay, good. So we're in the right direction. We don't have people who are burning out. We don't even have people who are recovering. We've got people who are getting the results that they want to get. So we say the emotions are energy. So some people actually bounce back on a daily basis. They move from high energy positive to high energy negative. What do you think that does to the body? If you are moving back and forth on a daily basis. It's exhausting. You get burnout. Okay? And then you ask yourself, why am I tired? Did I work very hard today? What was happening in the school? A parent came and there was an issue and your emotions went from there to there and you feel drained. So emotions can actually give you energy or drain your energy. They can give you energy or drain your energy. And one of the key tools you can use to understand emotions is to question the emotion. When you experience it and you are able to actually accurately name it, I feel angry. What is the next step forward? What do you need to do? You have to ask the right question that moves you to the next step, isn't it? When you feel angry, what is in the way? Normally when we feel angry, something is blocking us from getting what we want, isn't it? Yep. And then you need to ask a follow-up question there. What would be the follow-up question there? What is in the way? Understand each time we experience negatively charged emotions, we experience what is known as a downward shift or a diminishing focus. So you are focusing on the problem, not on the outcome, which is over that side. So what do you need to do? You need to remind yourself, what do I want? Because remember, now you're not seeing the outcome, you're seeing the problem. What do I want? What is the result that I want? And then from moving from the result, you now know that I want to go to the back of the room. Then you can ask yourself, what options do I have? Okay, let me give you a silly example. I was training in one time in Pietermaritzburg. One lady says, my husband makes me feel mad. I'm angry. I said, good, you've identified the problem. Okay, the problem is the husband. What do you want? I've been asking him for the past 3 months to clean the pool. And he's not cleaning it. And she was really mad. What does she want? A clean pool. Okay? But she's deciding to focus on this man. Instead of either cleaning the pool, hiring somebody who can clean the pool, she has a clean pool, she's a happy person. You want him to clean the pool. Welcome to hell. Okay, I'm not going to go through all those emotions, but just before I end, I've got this quote from Chaim Ginot where he says, I'm a survivor of a concentration camp. My eyes saw what no man should witness. Gas chambers built by learned engineers. Children poisoned by educated physicians. Infants killed by trained nurses. Women and babies shot and buried by high school and college graduates. So I am suspicious of education. My request is help your students become more human. Your efforts should never produce learned monsters, skilled psychopaths, educated economists. Reading, writing, and arithmetic are important only if they serve to make children more human. How do we bring humanity back into the school system? How do we bring it back to the school system? Okay? So I want to end on that note, but just to give you a brief background, more information, we have a program called Teaching with Emotional Intelligence, and I'm happy to say we've trained, we are still training, a school from one of the SAPA committee members at Silverfields. Marlene is here. Marlene, do you want to just tell them how's the program? Are you enjoying the program, or you want to say, no? Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot. I didn't ask you earlier on. I'm putting her on the spot, and we've actually had this program, Teaching with Emotional Intelligence, but understanding that teachers are in the classroom all the time, we make it such that we can do days after hours. So if you are finishing at 1, we come in after 1. We do the couple of hours, and then until we make up the hours that we need to cover the content. And we've done that with Marlene. We are still in the process. We are not done, but just good, not good feedback. You've gone through the first session of our course. Do you want to just give us feedback in terms of how is that going? Where can we improve? How can we use the resources that we have as a team at SAPA? Obviously, this is to forge way forward and to build leadership skills. What can we do to actually make it better?
We've done the first section, and it was a 4-hour session. I think all of you know what teachers are like on a Friday afternoon. Half an hour meeting, they want to go home. For the first time ever in my 20 years of being a principal, I had staff sitting there riveted for 4 hours. They didn't want to leave. Our follow-up is happening in 2 weeks' time, and they've cancelled everything for the follow-up.
Awesome. Thank you, Marlene. Thank you for that feedback. Okay, so if you want more information, we've got a table at the SAPA desk. So we've got a couple of courses, Teaching with Emotional Intelligence, but we also have EQ for teens. We realize that when they go through the teenage age, they go through a certain disruptive emotions. So we've got that class if you want to partner with us for doing it in your class. But we also have a Saturday class for parents. So we realize it can't be a teacher's responsibility alone. So we have to partner the teachers, we have to partner with the parents, we also have to help the children themselves to give them tools and techniques to manage emotions. We've got a table outside, but we also probably will communicate with you if you're interested in the program. Thank you very much.